Numbers
Oh, yeah.
30.
Okay. Um, yeah, sounds good. I can start it if you're ready.
Alrighty.
All right, 30. And Moses told the people of Israel everything just as Adonai had ordered Moses. Um, then Moses spoke to the heads of the tribes of the people of Israel. He said, "Here is what Adonai has ordered. When a man makes a vow to Adonai or formally obligates himself by swearing an oath, he is not to break his word, but to do everything he said he would do. When a woman makes a vow to Adonai, formally obligating herself while she is a minor living in her father's house, then if her father has heard what she vowed or obligated herself to do and holds his peace, then all her vows remain binding. Every obligation she bound herself will stand. But if on the day her father hears it, he expresses his disapproval, then none of her vows or obligations she has bound herself to will stand, and Adonai will forgive her because her father expressed his disapproval.
Mm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, vows, pretty big deal. I mean, they're, contrary to what some translations of what Yeshua was saying in the New Testament imply, the Torah seems to actually command, us to make our vows in His name or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. But if we make a vow, it's like obviously really important to keep that vow. And
Yeah.
there is several instances in the Old Testament where that kind of like goes awry, where someone just like makes a rash vow that they didn't really fully think out. And
Mm-hmm.
I kind of suspect that that's like the purpose of these kind of like sub rules about vows here. Like, if like a young person, like they haven't even moved out of their parents' home yet, if they make a
Mm-hmm.
vow and like, their parents hear it and it's just like, okay, that's silly, and you don't want to be bound to something like that, and
Yeah.
and maybe to just kind of convey the seriousness of the vow will be like kind of like put the kibosh on whatever that vow was or whatever. I assume that could be
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
realistic
for sure.
scenario.
Yeah, that seems to be what's going on here.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yes.
So
So where did you stop?
7.
7.
7.
And okay, and so I'll start in 6. So, and if she has a husband and she vows or vows something wherewith she bounds her soul, and her husband hears it and doesn't say anything in the day that he hears it, then her vows will stand and her bonds. But if the husband does not allow on the day that he hears it, and then he shall make her vow which she vowed, and that, God, the King James, bro. Bound her
Yeah,
soul
man.
of no effect, and Jehovah shall forgive her. But every vow of a widow and of her that is divorced shall stand.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and if she vows in her husband's house, or binds her soul with an oath, and her husband hears it and doesn't say anything, then her vow shall stand. Okay, 12. But if her husband has made them void on the day that he hears them, they shall not stand, and her husband has made them void, and Jehovah shall forgive her. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, husband, father, uh, overrule, vow.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
absolutely. And there definitely does seem, I mean, there really is an undeniable, like, because, this is pretty clear. I mean, maybe the same could be said for like a minor son and like his mother, like voiding him out, but you just don't really see that. Like maybe that's
Mhm.
implied, I don't know, but there
Yeah.
definitely is. I mean, and obviously this discussion could go on forever, but like there is something about this like male female dynamic that our modern world is like completely fucking missing, by
Yeah.
design, I guess, by intention. um,
Yeah.
not
Right.
not that anybody who's like walking in the spirit would ever want some kind of like gender supremacy, either way, like
Mhm.
obviously,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
yeah, there really is, and humanity is probably not fully happy, healthy, and just whole, unless we are kind of, I guess, conforming to God's pattern of, I don't know, just like roles and everything, and that doesn't even necessarily have to look like anything. It's just like, I don't know.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, there's definitely. I mean, just the concept of marriage today is, I don't know, it's really.
broken.
I mean, marriage is very broken and sick right now
Exactly.
in our day and age. Is a good way of saying it.
Yeah.
So like it's like you can't even start with that. It's like it goes all the way down to the seed of the problem. Um,
Right.
like even like yeah. So yeah, it's yeah, you're right. There's definitely something. There's a big chunk of that missing for our culture.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and we don't really know how to fix it. It seems, but um,
For sure, man.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know,
Yeah.
because I've seen like women end up being stronger. I mean, I've seen more than like I don't, and I'm not just like the fact that I'm like happening to take sides with women, but like I've seen women like get out of like disgusting, like awful marriages, and then like their lives, they go and live such better lives. Not just the fact that they're like free from this guy or whatever, but like
Yeah.
they're free to do like better things with their lives after they kind of break that chain. And seems like
Absolutely.
marriage isn't even good for women that I've seen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Most, I mean,
Absolutely,
of course,
man.
there's plenty of exceptions and everything. I mean, a good marriage is obviously, but like
Right.
it's it's definitely a diseased concept in our day and age where you can't take these principles we're reading about here and trying to apply them to today's idea of marriage because it's so off that you're just going to make it worse. I feel
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yeah. I
like
mean.
if you're gonna grab onto the what's it called um I don't know, I don't remember the word, god damn it, um the male kind of woman subjects to male, that's like what's that called,
Yeah.
like starts with a P.
Oh, like patriarchy.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
word I was looking for.
Uh huh.
Like that model,
Mm-hmm.
that model runs on other things other than just a woman submitting to a male. So like um
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah.
so
I've thought about that, and it's like, you know what? The conclusion I've come to is, because patriarchy, like say what you want or whatever, like that's definitely what we're seeing. Like that's definitely what we see in the scriptures.
yeah.
Whatever the metaphysics are, the science is, God's science is, like there
Yeah.
is some kind of like male, like like the weaker and stronger vessel, so to speak. And I don't think that's just referring to the physical either, but
Mhm.
it's like such a fragile system because that system can only be trusted to not be subject to just heaping abuse on
Yeah.
the subjected party, unless it's in a godly, spiritual, righteous context. Like the
Mhm.
second
Yeah.
it's not in that context, it's subject to abuse, and like it always results in abuse. And I mean,
Yeah,
me
right,
and you, it's
right.
kind of interesting.
Mhm.
Like, it's something that we kind of have in common now. We both see firsthand, women, our moms, exactly how you described,
Mhm.
being subject to, and it's like this backward system, and that's always what they throw up. Like, they'll cite this kind of thing, they'll cite this
Yeah,
like
right.
this
Mhm.
like supremacy they're supposed to have. But I mean, it's pretty clear that that system is only relevant when the husband is loving the wife as Messiah loved like the body of believers. And like,
Yeah.
can you stand
Yeah,
there
man.
and say that? Hell fucking
Mhm.
no. Like, and until you can't demand any kind of, respect for your authority, because
Yeah.
you just
Mhm.
don't, you're not filling that role. Because, like, is Messiah ever going to abuse us? Does Messiah ever even make us do anything? Does Messiah ever even, you know, use any kind of force whatsoever? Literally never, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, exactly.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, rant. But yeah, pretty interesting. This chapter is a kind of a cool window into the culture, I
Yeah,
guess.
it
And
is. Mhm.
yeah, vows
And
are
this was
like,
common. This was common, super common back then. There was no idea of like feminism or like women, like individualistic women,
yeah, right.
which I think is a good concept. But um, but yeah, it's about how to translate that, um, how to translate what we're reading about here in scriptures into what that looks like today. I mean, I think it's pretty much to the point where marriage is like marriage and like a male and like a woman subjecting to a male is like even irrelevant. I would go as far to say today in our
Hmm.
culture at least, just because of how off we are from the way things should
Yeah,
work.
no, yeah, exactly, dude. It's not even
Even just
applicable.
relationship based.
Yeah, it's not even applicable, dude. Like, any kind of aspiritual society does not deserve a hierarchy that actually accords with our human nature like that. It does.
Yeah,
we
right,
it can't
right.
we can't be
Mhm.
trusted with it. It's almost like
Mhm.
anarchy. It's almost like anarchy is only for the people who can be trusted with it. Like, you
Mhm.
know,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's a good way of saying
it's
it,
only
I think.
for a righteous people. Only a righteous, our conscience, the Holy Spirit, self-governing us. That's the only way in which we, don't we can function without some kind of, top-down, you know,
Uh-huh.
authority or whatever. But
Yeah. Right.
yeah, anyway, dude, it sucks, man. Like, religion, the Bible is always what's used. It's commonly what's used to, abuse people with these bullshit hierarchies. And
Mhm.
we see and saw that firsthand. And
Yeah, right. Yeah, man. And it's nothing new at all.
oh yeah.
Nothing new at all. People burned at the stake for
Hmm.
like things that like and people and the person doing it was like referencing the Bible all along,
Oh yeah, dude. Exactly.
countless times.
But
So
anyway, I think yeah, we finished up Hebrews, or did we? I think we did, or maybe not.
um yeah, we did
Okay,
that. We did.
cool. So we can do something else. Me and Beth, we Skyped the other day, and she was saying that like she really wants to just like go start to finish like the account of Paul's life and like all his writings. So we're
Yeah,
we're
that would be
probably gonna
great.
like start from Acts and just like
Mhm.
go through the New Testament after that, because most of that is
All right,
Paul.
cool.
Post that.
Yeah. Yeah, he gets a lot of books in there.
Yeah, for sure. But
Um
and dude,
yeah,
you're always welcome to jump in on those. We're probably gonna do like a Skype study session, one night this week or something.
cool. Yeah, much appreciated. Yeah, we'll see what I can do.
Yeah.
Um,
Anyway,
that would be really cool though.
yeah, for sure. But what do you have any thoughts about what you'd want to jump into? We talked about James, I
Yeah.
think.
We talked about what?
James, which is right after Hebrews.
Oh yeah. Um, that's an option. I'm not against really any of it.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think if there's anything. Hmm. We could start. Well,
Yeah, I mean, we could even do a gospel. I mean, I don't mind.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, I don't know. We can start. We can just resume in James and kind of work our way through that. Let's see. I kind of want to space it to where we get to Revelation, in parallel with getting into
Yeah,
a prophet or prophecy in the Old Testament that we can kind of parallel with. But
yeah,
we can
and
just
yeah. I mean, since we have less text to work with in the New Testament, we might have to like circle back, a few times as we're going through
yeah,
the Old, which is completely fine. Um, or we could just like spend more time in the Old and space out the New, and
yeah,
and
right,
sync
right.
them up or
That's an
something like
option.
that.
Yeah, that's an option too, just so we can move through the Old Testament, all that text, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, we could even just jump in the next chapter of Numbers here. I mean, I don't mind.
Yeah, that could be good. Because you guys are gonna start in Acts, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I think we could start in like the Thessalonians,
Hell yeah.
and then go through the rest of the New Testament, skipping Hebrews, maybe,
Absolutely,
and
man.
see where that puts us. Or anywhere you think. Maybe I just don't want you to have to read the same text twice so close together with Beth type of
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah, that certainly, I certainly wouldn't mind too much, but yeah, I mean, I'm definitely down for Thessalonians.
Okay.
Good stuff in here.
All right. Then yeah, let's short chapter.
Yeah, for
The
sure.
first one is pretty short, so I can start it out if you want.
Awesome, man.
All right. So this is Paul writing, as well as Timothy and CJB says Sela, to the Messianic community of the Thessalonians, united with God the Father and the Lord Yeshua the Messiah. Grace to you and shalom. We always thank you. We always thank God for all of you, regularly mentioning you in our prayers, calling to mind before God the Father what our Lord Yeshua the Messiah has brought about in you, how your trust produces action. You love hard work and your hope perseverance. We know, brothers, that God has loved and chosen you, that the good news we brought did not become for you a matter of only words, but also one of power and the Holy Spirit and total conviction, just as you know how we lived for your sakes, and we were with you. You indeed became imitators of us and the Lord, so that even though you were going through severe troubles, you received the word with joy from the Holy Spirit. Yeah, this is good whenever he's uplifting, encouraging a community.
Yeah.
It's always good. Like an example of like what the people should be doing, like mimicking the prophets, mimicking the spiritual predecessors.
Yeah, and even at times saying like, imitate me as I imitate the Messiah.
Yeah.
Because like at this point, I mean, these guys. Let's see, Thessalonica. I'm not sure where that is, but they're definitely like Greek,
Yeah.
pagans, so to speak. So, he's like
Mm-hmm.
their touchstone to this, Semitic, you know, world of it's dude that's gotta be, I mean, it's gotta be pretty, I mean, I guess it's like us, except for Christianity, influence Western culture before we arrived on the scene. But yeah, I mean, totally different, just like way of moral thinking, and
Hmm.
totally different take on like deity and deities. So yeah, I mean, it's got to be hard. It's probably like herding cats, like theologically herding cats, for
Hmm.
Paul to come into this completely disconnected culture, and for them to be trying to leave behind, their way of life or whatever.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think it is a good comparison to what we're going through here in our civilization.
Yeah,
Um,
no doubt.
Trying to latch on to this spiritual family in the midst of something entirely different, to say the least.
Yeah, and for the Greek culture, I mean, it's like so heavily emphasized on, like on the logos, like the words and the
Hmm.
ideas and the concepts and the philosophy
Hmm.
versus, yeah, he's like definitely targeting them. Where does he say that? Verse 5, for the gospel did not come to you in word only, but also in power and in the Holy
Yeah.
Spirit and in much conviction. Like this is real. It's
Hmm.
not just like something that we wear long robes and we hang out in a big granite building in a circle and we debate about. It's like
Yeah.
it's real
Hmm.
life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. It's urgent and immediate. Um, yeah. So to finish it out, thus you became a pattern for all the believers in Macedonia and Achaia, for the Lord's message sounded forth from you not only in Macedonia and Achaia, but everywhere your trust toward God became known. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the Lord's message sounded forth from you not only in Macedonia and Achaia, but everywhere your trust towards God became known. So the people that are even hearing about their influence, their beliefs, it's spreading more than just the places that they live and dwell, I guess is
Mm-hmm.
what he's saying here.
Yeah, yeah.
The result is that we don't need to say anything, since they themselves keep telling us about the welcome we received from you and how you turned to God from idols to serve the true God, the one who is alive, and to wait for his son Yeshua, whom he raised from the dead to appear from heaven and rescue us from the impending fury of God's judgment. Closing on a looming ominous note there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, which he definitely goes into in next chapters, I feel like.
Cool. Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thessalonia.
really interesting, man. I mean, like, it's so interesting to think about what Paul's dynamic with these, various Greek people must have been like.
Mhm.
And like he just like challenged them head on. He's like, okay, you guys are like really cerebral, a really brainy, brain centered, logic centered people, and that's like
Yeah.
where that he like gets to their level, and like talks to them, and actually isn't just like you know belief. He was like actually using reason.
Yeah. Of course.
And no
Yeah.
doubt, I mean,
Mhm.
Paul, I mean, I'm sure, so well educated as a young person. I mean, I'm sure he's familiar. I mean, the Greeks, even at this point, they had already had centuries long traditions of Messiah figures who, I mean, undoubtedly are really about Yeshua, but have just lost their complete true meaning over time and over
Yeah.
culture. I mean,
Mhm.
Hercules is the son of the primary god he's both god and part man, and he has to accomplish these tasks that ultimately require him to like sacrifice himself in order to
Mhm.
save humanity. I mean it's literally the story of
Mhm.
Yeshua, but it just gets lost to you know
Yeah.
antiquity or
Right.
whatever. So
Right.
I'm sure like Paul's coming and he's like, okay, you have these, and he's like probably tying everything all together, and it's pretty
Yeah.
cool to think about.
Yeah. It is. I love those. I love those myths and stuff.
Yeah.
even if they come from other sources, even if they come from like angels mimicking it. It's still really interesting. Just because we know the source, it's just really, it makes it all that much more interesting.
Absolutely, man.
At
Absolutely.
least because we know what is mirroring, what those stories reflect. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it may not even be like a nefarious intention, where the
No,
myth
not
came
at
from.
all.
It
Not
could just be
necessarily.
like, the
Yeah.
people at Babel were given different languages, and then they all went different directions on the earth, and they took their versions of stories with them.
Yeah. Mhm.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, we can't really know for sure the intentions of like what angels have done on Earth in the past, but
Hmm.
it's really cool to research it and learn the details about it, and just knowing what we think the angels were going after
Oh my
is
God,
something
dude.
that you just is amazing.
Yeah, I don't wanna rant too long on this, but I just saw Venom the other day, the movie. Like,
Oh, okay. Mhm.
did you ever see it?
No,
Yeah,
no, it did not.
I was kind of skeptical. I didn't see it in theaters. I just like rented it the other day, but
Okay,
it was
cool.
okay. I thought it was pretty good. It's like I didn't know a whole lot about Venom, but I used to, I used to always be a fan of Spider-Man, and he was like this, villain in it or whatever. But like the way
Mhm.
this movie was portraying it, and maybe that's the way Venom always has been, is he's actually like an alien who has to like take over like a human host, and then they become Venom, pretty much.
Uh huh.
And so
Yeah.
basically the story in the movie is like it's not just Venom alone like from his planet. It's like basically an alien invasion once again, this alien invasion like from this other planet, and they're like superior beings, but they like need human hosts. And like at first it's portrayed like, oh, it's a really scary and bad thing, like these humans and these like aliens, having symbiosis and like becoming superior beings together. And it's like a
Mhm.
bad thing at first, but then the movie later portrays it as like a good thing, and like this is like humans like reaching their full potential. And I'm like, oh
Yeah.
god, like this is this is just more predictive programming, like it's gotta be.
Mhm.
But
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, pretty weird.
Yeah. It's in almost it's in almost everything that comes out in movies.
Mm-hmm.
To some degree,
Mm-hmm.
especially like action and the action and suspense movies. Yeah, it's pretty much every time you can find some DNA
Mm-hmm.
of that model
Mm-hmm.
within most every of that genre.
Dude, I mean, it's crazy the science they must be like, counting on when they're doing, because like it must be laying down like really subconscious concepts so that like when these things actually do start to happen, like they're if they're one day on CNN, it's like alien invasion or whatever, and there's going to be these latent things in the back of our mind that like all these sources of media have laid down of like, well, this
Yeah.
isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Mhm. Right.
that's that's
Yeah.
like probably how it's going to be packaged,
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, we almost like killed ourselves with overpopulation and global warming, and now our alien masters are who are like higher and smarter and altruistic beings, are gonna help
Yeah.
us, and they even want to meld with us and mingle among the seed of men, to quote Daniel. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna be pretty weird.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. And they've done it before. They've done it in a microcosms type of situation. Aliens have invaded um, small cultures in the distant past. So we already know. I mean, they already know, I should say, what that's going to look like. Um, I think that's. I mean, there's so many stories and so many religions, especially ancient religions, that are based on like sky people coming down, and they're our gods now, basically, and like so they
Right.
come and land like
Hmm.
the Mayans, I'm pretty sure, is a good example of like sky people that came down, and like a lot of every probably every Native American culture has like a different, maybe the same, maybe different legends and stuff of sky peoples that's using their terms, that people that came and landed from the heavens, and like, you know, they were our gods and they helped us and they gave us knowledge. That's it. And that's
Right.
so they've ran the experimentation on humankind before many times. It's just a matter of now we have mass communication, and so anything that happens in a Bulgaria is gonna like get word. There's gonna be word in the Western culture like the same day. So it's like they have to do it all. They have to be all or nothing with it. They can't test. They can't run experiments on like the Mayans, and then like a few hundred years later, like people in Egypt, they can't run these experiments because we're all in touch with each other. So it's like they have to be all in. So that, you know, and there's so many of us, they have to be all in and invest all this time and resources. So they're holding off for something that we don't know what that is, but
wow.
But they
yeah, you just put that all in perspective, man. Damn. Yeah, I mean, they've definitely done this over many time periods and many cultures. That, dude, that is like such a huge thing to me, is they've completely erased so much human history. Wow. I mean, like, the fact that we really have like no idea what human history has been like.
No, we don't have a clue. And what we do know is like that comes from their manufactured, something that they did. You know, they like even our myths. It's crazy. Ironically, a lot of the stuff that is myth is like actually true from back in the past in some way, shape, or form.
Dude, the myths, like the mythology, that's real. Like God, like human God, you know, hybrids and you know, leading the world and all this stuff. I mean, like that Atlantis, like stuff like that is real. But bullshit, like, you know, we're coming from single cells and like all animals from a single sort. Like,
yeah,
wow,
that's not true.
Imagine that, dude. Wow.
Yeah. So yeah. It's gonna be eye opening. It's gonna be eye opening for everyone, but it's gonna be really eye opening for like the people who are spiritually prepared for it. It's gonna be eye opening in a different way. It's gonna be like less eye opening as far as like our science was wrong and like the myths and stuff were more so on the accurate side. And more so eye-opening for like just like human experiment, you know, like social experiment type of thing, like watching the people around you react to something like that. What we do in that situation.
Yeah, dude, exactly.
Yeah, won't keep you too long, but
yeah, I guess I better go here. But awesome study, man.
Yeah, for sure, bro, for sure.
Definitely.
Have a good day at work, man.
Thanks a lot, man. I'll text you.
Cool. Love you, bro.
Love you.